Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hey, Haribol. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Oh, I never know what to expect, really. To go to the Mongol Arctic, you never know. I couldn't sleep last night, hardly at all. I mean, took rest at about 11:30. And I was up around 2, and that was it, you know. So I just went over to the temple. Everything was all locked up. And even the cat wasn't there. The cat was still asleep. So I just walked around outside, around and around the temple, chanting Hare Krishna. And, japa, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And I was a little surprised that there's no night guard, because, I mean, there's several buildings, there's all kinds of equipment and gardens, but I guess, ever since they've been there, since like, I don't know when it was, but early 80s, they've never had any trouble, but still I was a little surprised that there was no Kshatriya walking around at night, just making sure everything was okay, because a lot of the doors are just glass doors, it'd be easy if somebody wanted to cause a problem, just come in, and they could do all kinds of damage, but there was no night guard. So I think that would be a nice service for someone to, patrol at night, someone that had that inclination, to be like a security guard or something. But no, everyone was asleep. Everything was just there. Pandal tents, folding chairs, stainless steel tables, everything just all there. Refrigerator out in the back. The cars in the parking lot, if somebody wanted to cause a problem, it'd be pretty easy to do. But it's a rural area, I guess, They've been there long enough, so whatever. But so then the devotees started to come, and I was just appreciating the different personalities as they arrived. They're so cute, they really are, the devotees are really, they've got Hare Krishna, they're chanting Hare Krishna, they want to serve Krishna, and they're all different, it's like, it's really sweet. So I just chanted until the curtains opened at 4:30, and then the assembly was there, all the servants were there, curtain open, and there's Radha Sham, and then there's Gaurnatai off to the left, and there's Krishna Balaram off to the right. You've got little Nishingadev there, and then you've got Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta on Gaurnatai's altar, and everyone's chanting for Krishna. The kirtan leader was very, very, very sober, and very sweet, but sober. He was not at all, he was very focused, but he was also very sweet. And while he was chanting, it was like I was actually remembering Krishna, not just Krishna's God, or there's Radha Krishna, there's Krishna Balaram, not like that. He's actually remembering a mood of that I'd read about of Nanda Maharaj's brother, Sunanda, who was very protective, and a lot of disturbances were coming to Mahavan. That's where they were actually, when Krishna was taken in by Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj, it wasn't in Vrindavan, it was in Mahavan, because they tend to be a little nomadic, because they're taking care of the cows, and the cows are always grazing, so all they have to do is move the cows, and they can move too. It's kind of like a little bit like nomad, although, tendency is to stay in one place. It's a lot easier. But whatever's good for the cows, then the whole village will go there. So they were grazing the animals in a forest called Mahavan. And that's when the switch took place between Mother Yasoda and Devaki. And then Krishna was placed in Mother Yasoda's arms to be taken in as her child. But there were a lot of disturbances. There was Putana, there was this one and that one. So Sunanda was very protective. He was Nanda Maharaj's brother. And he gathered all the cowherd men together, and they had a meeting, and they discussed what to do. And they considered that they should leave Mahavan and find another area. And that's when they went to Vrindavan. And Govardhan Hill at that time was very lush. Right now it tends to be a little barren, but at that time it was lush with green grasses and minerals, and it was an incredible place, Govardhan. And then Vrindavan, right there in the proximity, so that they all moved. And there's that picture in Krishna Book where it's one of the original pictures, a little primitive, but it's really nice, really devotional. They're sitting in the ox carts, and Mother Rohini is feeding Balaram, and Mother Yasoda is feeding Krishna, and they're sitting in the ox cart, and they're moving in caravan to Vrindavan. And when this devotee was chanting, wow, I was just kind of absorbed in that mood of Sunanda, and also lifting Govardhan. It was a very protective sound in his voice. He was very protective of Krishna and Krishna's community. It was a really beautiful, beautiful kirtan. It was very sweet, and you could feel Prabhupada was there and pleased with this beautiful chanting of this devotee. It was lovely. And when he was singing for Lord Chaitanya, Hare Krishna, his mood was protective, and it came out in his voice in a big way. So sweet, very loving and protective devotee. Whew. So it was really nice, and sometimes I ask myself, what the heck am I doing there? I don't do anything. I just chant, and just, get absorbed in remembering Krishna. I'm not really doing anything to help anybody. I'm just kind of like a bum or something. The door open. I don't even dress in devotional clothes. It's like the door opened and I wandered in. But and I want to focus on whoever's chanting, because Krishna, they're leading everyone in the glorification of Krishna, because they're leading the kirtan. And so they're representing Srila Prabhupada, they're representing Lord Chaitanya, and they're representing Krishna, because they're leading the community in serving Krishna in his holy name. So I like to get as close as I can to whoever's chanting, most everybody else is like staring at the deities. I'm not staring at the deities so much. They're there. I mean, I'm very aware of the deity and how, everyone is focused on serving Krishna by their service to the deity. This one cleans the floor and that one washes the pots, and then, they're serving Krishna in his deity form by a lot of activity. And I did that at one time, when I was a new devotee, I was like that too. My service was to do a lot of things for Krishna in his form as a deity. But now, actually, you get a little older, you can't do so many things. I mean, it can take 20 minutes to find your glasses or the car keys. So, it's a little different, maneuvering around in the given the situation as you get a little bit older, which is kind of a relief because you've backed off from all this external controlling stuff, because really it's not even your field of activity so much. You just do what you need to do, and then it's done already. So that leaves some time and energy to focus more on the hearing and the chanting. And so, like when I go to, say, the Mongol Arctic, I want to focus on who's chanting. And that, that's what happened this morning. I could hear in his voice different moods of devotion. And it was bringing up, remembering this pastime of Sunanda and his mood of protection. And also when he was chanting to Lord Nrsingadeva, it was a protective mood. And Prahlad, it was very protective sound in his voice, loving, protective. It was really nice. And then the Tulsi Puj, one of the ladies led the Tulsi Puj, and she was like Sarge, She was chanting in such a way that everybody was going to march. Everybody was going to stay in line, they were going to do their service, and that's all there was to it. She was like Sarge, Sarge. So, focusing in on hearing, it's not just worshiping God, we're worshiping the personality of Godhead, the supreme personality of Godhead. And the devotees' personalities also come out as the relationship with the supreme personality. It's a relationship. And that's how we realize our eternal personality also is in relationship to the Supreme Personality. So that's what's been going on at Mongol Arctic. And it was really, really, I never know what's going to happen. I really never do. I don't know if I mentioned this, but on Sunday, the younger generation come and they chant for hours and hours and hours. And it's a sit-down bhajan chanting, but it's the Maha Mantra. It's not like a jump up and down and clang the kartal chanting. It's some of these young guys are really good with mridanga and other types of drums. And a lot of the ladies chant and they sing very nicely. It's not just the guys, the ladies also sing. And it is sitting in a circle. And so two of the young ladies especially, very, very powerful devotional moods in their voices of missing Krishna and wanting to love Krishna and meditating on Krishna, his pastimes, and meditating on Radharani. It was really, really sweet chanting. So one of the young ladies, she was the second one with the harmonium. They all play the harmonium. She started out, her voice was a little harsh when she started out. She was like screaming, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, which was a little shrill because they're not usually like that. And, we're trying to follow because she's calling for Krishna. We want to see where this goes. And then that went on for like 5 or 10 minutes, this kind of like screaming for Krishna about playing the harmonium. I mean, really straining. And then something happened. audibly and visually. I'm sitting, it's all the young people sitting there, and I'm sitting there with them. I'm right in the middle with them. Because I want to be near where the chanting is. Like a lot of the older disciples, they're sitting on the benches and on the folding chairs just outside the door, giving the kids a lot of room to chant. No, I'm not going to do that. I want to be where the chanting is, and I don't care if it's coming out of a 20-year-old's voice or it's coming out of a 60-year-old's voice. I want to be where that Maha Mantra is coming out. That's where I want to be. So I'm sitting there with all the kids. Hare Krishna. Because I want to hear the chanting, just like they do. That's why they're sitting there. It's because they want to hear the chanting. So something happened at some point, and after about 5 or 10 minutes of this shrill, Krishna, Hare Krishna, it's like her hair had been up. And I don't know how it happened, but it came down. This long black hair came down, and her whole countenance changed. Her face, instead of being all tightened up and like stressed out, it became like moonlight. And her voice, instead of shrill sound, was deep and beautiful. And everyone went wild, all the kids, because they're experiencing these kinds of things, okay? These are the sons and daughters of the older disciples. This is the second generation who are born into this movement. And hey, the demigods are waiting to take birth here, okay? And these kids are really talented musically with harmonium and drums and chanting and everything else. And their features are gorgeous. So, hey, it is what it is, right? And all the kids, it was like one huge voice went out, Krishna! They were responding. It was really, really nice. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. The Lord heard the sincere, loud appeals. And then after that bhajan, it was actually a bhajan with the Maha Mantra, went on for a long time. And it was just like swimming in an ocean of Hare Krishna. And it was really, it went on for a long time. It was like eternal. It just went on and on and on. The ocean of devotional mood for Krishna was really sweet. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So somebody left the door open and I wandered in. Krishna. Yeah. Krishna. Attentive hearings. We want to develop our hearing. And the way to do that is if we hear from a devotee who is already absorbed in ecstatic love of Godhead, then that it opens our heart, and it also opens our own ability to hear. So we can begin to recognize where there's some mood of loving devotion to Krishna. We can pick up on it. And so that's a really, really great benefit of hearing from someone who already has ecstatic love for the Lord. And that's why I like to hear from Srila Gaur Haridas. As eccentric as he is, and let me tell you, he is eccentric. Hare Krishna. He has that taste for ecstatic love of Godhead. And when he speaks, it's from his heart, with his own realizations that have come from his own loving, spontaneous mood of wonderful devotion to the Lord. So from hearing someone like that, then it's like my hearing becomes attuned, and then I can recognize more where that sound vibration is in other people, to whatever degree it might be. At least that's what I'm experiencing. I'm just sharing it, you know. So, yeah. I usually read Chaitanya Charitamrita, but maybe I'll read it later. But I did want to read about Sunanda and his protective mood of getting everybody out of danger in Mahavan and taking them to Vrindavan. And I just really wanted to read that. So it's chapter 11 in Krishna Book, Killing the Demons, Vatsasura and Bakasura. Glories to Srila Prabhupada and my dear friend and guide, Srila Bhardas. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So, when the twin Arjuna trees fell to the ground, making a sound like the falling of thunderbolts, all the inhabitants of Gokula, including Nanda Maharaj, immediately came to the spot. They were very much astonished to see how the two great trees had suddenly fallen. Because they could find no reason for their falling down, they were puzzled. When they saw child Krishna bound up to the wooden mortar by the ropes of Yasoda, they began to think that it must have been caused by some demon. Otherwise, how was it possible? At the same time, they were very much perturbed because such uncommon incidences were always happening to the child Krishna. While the elderly cowherd men were thus contemplating, the small children who were playing there informed the men that the trees fell due to Krishna's pulling the wooden mortar with the ropes to which he was bound. Krishna came in between the two trees, they explained, and the wooden mortar was topsy-turvy and struck in between the trees. Krishna began to pull the rope, and the trees fell down. When the trees fell down, two very dazzling men came out of the trees, and they began to talk to Krishna. Most of the cowherd men did not believe the statement of the children. They could not believe that such things were at all possible. Some of them, however, believed them and told Nanda Maharaj, "Your child is different from all the other children. He just might have done it." Nanda Maharaj began to smile, hearing about the extraordinary abilities of his son. He came forward and untied the knot just to free his wonderful child. After being freed by Nanda Maharaj, Krishna was taken onto the laps of the elderly gopis. They took him away to the courtyard of the house and began to clap, praising his wonderful activities. Krishna began to clap along with them, just like an ordinary child. The Supreme Lord Krishna, being completely controlled by the gopis, began to sing and dance just like a puppet in their hands. Sometimes Mother Yasoda used to ask Krishna to bring her wooden plank for sitting. Although the wooden plank was too heavy to be carried by a child, still, somehow or other, Krishna would bring it to his mother. Sometimes, while worshipping Narayan, his father would ask him to bring his wooden slippers, and Krishna, with great difficulty, would put the slippers on his head and bring them to his father. When he was asked to lift some heavy article and was able to lift it, he would simply move his arms. In this way, daily, at every moment, he was the reservoir of all pleasure to his parents. The Lord was exhibiting such childish activities before the inhabitants of Vrindavan because he wanted to show the great philosophers and sages searching after the absolute truth, how the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead, is controlled by and subject to the desires of his pure devotees. One day a fruit vendor came before the house of Nanda Maharaj. Upon hearing the vendor call, "If anyone wants fruits, please come and take them from me." Child Krishna immediately took some grains in his palm and went to get fruits in exchange. In those days, exchange was by barter. Therefore, Krishna might have seen his parents exchange fruits and other things by bartering grains, and so he imitated. But his palms were very small, and he was not very careful to hold them tight, so he was dropping the grains. The vendor who came to sell fruit saw this and was very much captivated by the beauty of the Lord. So he immediately accepted whatever few grains were left in his palm and filled his hands with fruits. In the meantime, the vendor saw his whole basket of fruit had become filled with jewels. The Lord is the bestower of all benedictions. If someone gives something to the Lord, he's not a loser. He's a gainer by a million times. One day, Lord Krishna, the liberator of the twin Arjuna trees, was playing with Balaram and the other children on the bank of the Yamuna. And because it was already late in the morning, Rohini, the mother of Balaram, went to call them back home. But Balaram and Krishna were so engrossed in playing with their friends that they did not wish to come back. They just engaged themselves in playing more and more. When Rohini was unable to take them back home, she went home and sent Mother Yasoda to call them again. Mother Yasoda was so affectionate toward her son that as soon as she came out to call him back home, her breast filled with milk. She loudly cried, "My dear child, please come back home. Your time for lunch is already past." She then said, "My dear Krishna, my dear lotus-eyed child, please come and suck my breast. You have played enough. You must be very hungry, my dear little child. You must be tired from playing for so long." She also addressed Balaram thus, "My dear, the glory of your family, please come back with your younger brother Krishna immediately. You have been engaged in playing since morning, and you must be very tired. Please come back, take your lunch at home. Your father Nanda Maharaj is waiting for you. He has to eat, so you must come back so he can eat." As soon as Krishna and Balaram heard that Nanda Maharaj was waiting for them and could not take his food in their absence, they started to return. Their other playmates complained, "Krishna is leaving us just at the point when our playing is at the summit. Next time, we shall not allow him to leave." His playmates then threatened not to allow him to play with them again. Krishna became afraid, and instead of going back home, he went back again to play with the boys. At that time, Mother Yasoda scolded the children and told Krishna, "My dear Krishna, do you think that you are a street boy? You have no home? Please, come back to your home. I see that your body has become very dirty from playing since early morning. Now come home, take your bath. Besides, today is your birthday ceremony. Therefore you should come back home and give cows in charity to the brahmanas. Don't you see how your playmates are decorated with ornaments by their mothers? Your bath, please, therefore come back, take your bath, dress yourself nicely, and then again you may go on playing." In this way, Mother Yasoda called back Lord Krishna and Balaram, who are worshipable by great demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. She was thinking of them as her children. When Mother Yasoda's children, Krishna and Balaram, came home, she bathed them very nicely and dressed them with ornaments. She then called for the brahmanas, and through her children she gave many cows in charity for the occasion of Krishna's birthday. In this way, she performed the birthday ceremony of Krishna at home. After this incident, all the elderly members of the cowherd men assembled together. Nanda Maharaj presided. They began to consult among themselves how to stop great disturbances in Mahavan on account of the demons. In this meeting, Upananda, brother of Nanda Maharaj, was present. He was considered to be learned and experienced, and he was a well-wisher of Krishna and Balaram. He was a leader, and he began to address the meeting as follows. My dear friends, now we should leave here for another place, because we are continually finding that great demons are coming here to disturb the peaceful situation. And they are especially attempting to kill the small children. Just consider Putana and Krishna. It was simply by the grace of Lord Hari that Krishna was saved from the hands of such a great demon. Next, the whirlwind demon took Krishna away in the sky, but by the grace of Lord Hari he was saved. And the demon fell down on a stone slab and died. Very recently, this child was playing between two trees, and the trees fell down violently, and yet there was no injury to the child. So Lord Hari saved him again. Just imagine the calamity if this child or any other child playing with him were crushed by the falling trees. Considering all these incidences, we must conclude that this place is no longer safe. Let us leave. We have all been saved from different calamities by the grace of Lord Hari. Now we should be cautious and leave this place and reside somewhere where we can live peacefully. I think we should all go to the forest known as Vrindavan, where just now there are newly grown plants and herbs. It is very suitable for pasturing ground for our cows, and we and our families, the gopis with their children, can very peacefully live there. Near Vrindavan there is Govardhan Hill, which is very beautiful. And there is newly grown grass and fodder for the animals, so there will be no difficulty in living there. I therefore suggest that we start immediately for that beautiful place. As there is no need to waste any more time, let us prepare all our carts immediately, and if you like, let us go, keeping all the cows in front. On hearing the statement of Upananda, all the cowherd men immediately agreed. Let us immediately go there. Everyone loaded all their household furniture and utensils on the carts and prepared to go to Vrindavan. All the old men of the village, the children and women, were arranged on seats, and the cowherd men equipped themselves with bows and arrows to follow the carts. All the cows and bulls, along with their calves, were placed in the front, and the men surrounded the flocks with their bows and arrows and began to blow on their horns and bugles. In this way, with tumultuous sound, they started for Vrindavan. And who can describe the damsels of Vraj? They were all seated on the carts and were very beautifully dressed with ornaments and costly saris. They began to chant the pastimes of child Krishna, as usual. Mother Yasoda and Mother Rohini were seated on a separate cart, and Krishna and Balaram were seated on their laps. While Mother Rohini and Yasoda were riding on the cart, they talked to Krishna and Balaram, and feeling the pleasure of such talks, they looked very, very beautiful. In this way, after reaching Vrindavan, where everyone lives eternally, very peacefully and happily, they encircled Vrindavan and kept the carts all together. After seeing the beautiful appearance of Govardhan Hill on the bank of the river Yamuna, they began to construct their places of residence. While those of the same age were walking together and children were talking with their parents, the inhabitants of Vrindavan felt very happy. At this time, Krishna and Balaram were given charge of the calves. The first responsibility of the cowherd boys was to take care of the little calves. The boys were trained in this from the very beginning of their childhood, so along with other little boys, Krishna and Balaram went into the pasturing ground and took charge of the calves and played with their playmates. While taking charge of the calves, sometimes the two brothers played on their flutes, and sometimes they played with amalaki fruits and bile fruits, just like small children play with balls. Sometimes they danced and made tinkling sounds with their ankle bells. Sometimes they made themselves into bulls and cows by covering themselves with blankets. Thus, Krishna and Balaram played. The two brothers also used to imitate the sounds of bulls and cows and play at bullfighting. Sometimes they used to imitate the sounds of various animals and birds. In this way, they enjoyed their childhood pastimes, apparently like ordinary children. Once, when Krishna and Balaram were playing on the bank of the Yamuna, a demon of the name Vatsasura assumed the shape of a calf and came there intending to kill the brothers. I think I'm gonna stop there. We're gonna stop with the boys playing like apparently like ordinary mundane children. And there's so many moods of devotion in these stories, which was what I realized this morning when during that Mongol Artik, the devotee who was leading the chanting, because of the sound of his devotion in his voice, I thought it was Sunanda. It's not. It's Upananda, is the brother of Nanda Maharaj, the one with this protective leadership, learned protective leadership type personality. And I just remembered that personality. And I really felt like we were all in a caravan and everybody was on carts and the deities were on a cart and we were all going to Vrindavan to get out of the danger of what was going on in Madhavan. And when we got there, I saw Govardhan Hill. This was all going on during the kirtan. I wasn't trying to do this. It was just, these impressions were coming. It was very wonderful. From the mood of that devotee's kirtan. And now that I'm reading this, I see there are so many moods in here that connect us with Krishna. The moods of the children when they saw Krishna, and the moods of the elderly people when they didn't believe the children, and the mood of muddiest when she's trying to call Krishna, and she's feeling like she's filling up with milk out of love. It wants to hold her baby and feed him, and the mood of the vendor who's accepting, these grains are falling through Krishna. He's not holding it. Children, they pick things up, they don't grasp properly, and all the grains are falling, and he's probably had like one or two little grains left by the time he got there, opened his little hand, and the vendor was just so overcome with his presence, just the all-attractive, amazing presence of the personality of Godhead was there right before him as a small child. To offer something to this person, these grains, is in barter, to exchange in barter, and the vendor just overwhelmed, just loads him up with fruit. He just stole his heart. I love this child. So beautiful. Sometimes even an ordinary child can capture you with their funny little movements, and it's like wow. But imagine Krishna, the personality of Godhead, acting in that way. So. And then when he turns around, his cart is filled with precious gems and jewels. So, there's all these different moods of devotion in here in relationship to Krishna. It's so rich. Krishna. Krishna. Nanda Maharaj is waiting. He can't eat his lunch until the boys come home. And then Mother Yasoda bathes Krishna. And I didn't know she performed the birthday ceremony out of the house. She bathed and dressed Krishna, Mother Yasoda, and she gave cows to it wasn't like a big, huge ceremony. Evidently, it's just one little sentence here. She bathed them and decorated them and then she gave cows to the Brahmins in charity. Mother Yasoda did that. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And then Upananda's concerns. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And then the mood of the cowherd men, they're there with their bows and arrows surrounding the carts, for protection. So many devotional, it's all devotional moods. It's all moods of devotion. Hare Krishna, so rich. Hare Krishna, on the way to Vrindavan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. See, when you hear from a devotee who has ecstatic love for Krishna, they're not just praying for liberation or salvation. They're not just approaching the big Santa Claus in the sky because they want something. Okay? But they're actually absorbed in relishing these different devotional moods of love, of Godhead. You hear from someone like that, then it's like what happens with me is my own sense of hearing becomes attuned. And I can, if I'm relishing the sound vibration, that person is speaking because they're experiencing ecstatic love, spontaneous devotion to the Lord. And then Hare Krishna, Krishna. It's like getting tuned, tune. When they're going to play a musical instrument, they bring out the tuning fork, bing, and then they got to tune the musical instrument to that, bing. It's usually what is it? It's usually C. It's the key of C. Usually tuning fork. You're going to tune your guitar or tune whatever it is, your clarinet, whatever. You got a tuning fork. Hare Krishna. So you have that same vibration. Krishna. So hearing from someone who's already vibrating these devotional moods, then you become attuned. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. How important hearing is. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And there's, Prabhupada gave the warning that, you don't hear from those who are materially contaminated because it can have a poisonous effect. If you attune to someone who's full of all kinds of material contaminations, and you attune to that, it's Hare Krishna, but you're going to get all those impurities coming to you too, because you're tuning to that. Hare Krishna, the greed, the lust, the anger, the enviousness, the material motivation, the desire for sense gratification, it's all going to be in that vibration. Hare Krishna is pure, of course, Krishna is pure. But you're hearing from Hare Krishna from someone who isn't pure. Hare Krishna. If you hear from someone who isn't purely vibrating Hare Krishna, then whatever else they're putting in there is going to come in too. That's what Prabhupada says, honest quote by Srila Prabhupada. The authority, everybody quotes Prabhupada. By hearing from the lips of a non-devotee, it has a poisonous effect. It can take a long time to get those poisons out of there. And then really the only way to do it is to eventually surrender to the pure devotee vibration. So, sooner or later, right? Why take a long time? Life is short. Might as well do it now if you have the opportunity. Oh, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, I think I'll let it go at that for now. might be able to do something today. Hare Krishna. If not, just keep chanting and hearing and stay attuned whether I get stuff done or I don't. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. It's funny, what I'm noticing is, like, I'm thinking, oh, I really have to do this. I have to do this. And then, for some reason, I don't do it. And then the next day, oh, it's got to get done. And then, eventually it gets done. Eventually it gets done. It's not a big deal. It doesn't have to be done, in a passionate way. Like, I have to do this. It doesn't have to be done in a compulsive way. It has to be done. And it gets done. And then after it's done, I look back and I go, wow, look at that. Got done. There's no need to go into, like, a compulsive way of doing things. There's no need to do that. Hare, be compulsive. Hare Krishna, Hare, it's like mode of passion. You got to get it done. Have to do it. It doesn't have, things don't have to be like that. Hare, they get done. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. They get done. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.